Good morning. My name is Simone Morgan, and I would like to welcome everyone to day 2 of Nutrition Week 2022. Once again, our theme for this year is Celebrating a World of Flavors. Similar to yesterday's chapel session, our nutrition fair today promises to be a day filled with exciting and valuable information. We will have 3 presenters from the Department of Nutrition and Dietetics and 1 presenter who is a recent graduate from our department. Our first speaker, Ms. Shani Jones, will be presenting on eating habits in meager times. My presentation will be followed next and is entitled Herbs and Spices, Have It Your Way. Dr. Tabitha Muchee, our third presenter, will be discussing the topic, Healthy and Savory Plant-Based Diet. Finally, one of our recent alumna, Tieace Dawes-Morgan, will be taking us through the topic, The Secrets of the Yellow Plant Power. If you have any burning questions for our presenters, we will be taking them after all speakers have presented. Then to put the icing on the cake, our department chair, Ms. Vinola Richards, will be making her closing remarks. However, before these activities begin, Dr. Sonia Copeland will now bring us her greeting.
It is a wonderful morning, and we give God thanks for this lovely day that we have been blessed with. Greetings to all our participants and the other persons who are participating, presenters as well, and the hardworking planning team that did all this work behind the scenes. World Nutrition Week is being recognized all over. And in some places, they have really selected and have taken on the theme, a world of flavors, a world of colors. And our presenters will go into more detail in terms of that. Certainly from the standpoint of the non-communicable diseases, we're just so happy now that we have more community engagement in these discussions on nutrition and how nutrition plays a pivotal role in terms of our health and well-being. Before we started speaking about non-communicable diseases, we used to talk about nutritionally related diseases. So with all this information that you have, you can then be advocates for us as you go back to your different groups, your church groups, your women's group, your youth groups, and share this information. We cannot win this battle against the onslaught of non-communicable diseases without getting our population to be more nutritionally literate. So I just want to thank the organizers for allowing me to share this very important topic with you and to participate in your health fair. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Copeland, for bringing us greeting. We really appreciate it. All right, so our first faculty presenter today is Ms. Shani Jones. Ms. Jones holds a Bachelor of Science degree in Nutrition and Dietetics, a Master of Public Health degree, and a graduate diploma in education and training. As an active member of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, Ms. Jones is a seasoned children's storyteller and a songstress who plays the piano. She loves to try new and different flavors, loves nature, and is family-oriented. Ms. Jones has a passion for improving nutrition literacy, a passion that drives her to share with us this morning. It is a privilege and honor to introduce to you Ms. Shani Jones. Ms. Jones.
Good morning, all. Thank you so much, Ms. Morgan, for that introduction. In keeping with our theme, celebrating a world of flavors, and especially now everyone is facing financial difficulties. Caregivers and heads of households need to be able to plan simple, inexpensive, and yet nutritious meals. They need to know how, through mixing food groups, to reduce food costs and also reduce the risk of developing some of these chronic non-communicable diseases. So I'd like to take us to the canvas on which we are going to paint the flavors. Yes, we're going to paint the flavors on this canvas. And our Jamaican motto, out of many one people, says it all, right? Our foods are from different parts of the world. And in light of the inflation that is happening now, it has just compounded the issue, right? COVID-19 restrictions, war in Europe, we need to adjust our tastes. We are experiencing it now. The same thing happening in other parts of the world, it's the same thing that is happening here. So we have to adjust our taste. Speak to our children, help them to understand that they will also need to adjust their taste. The same amount of money we had, it does not purchase the same quantity as was possible in the recent past. Hence, my focus this morning will be on eating healthy in meager times, because we are already in meager times. From COVID, the beginning of COVID-19, March 2020, until now, and we are even going further times. The word of God in Proverbs 6:6-8 says, "Go to the ant, you sluggard, consider its ways and be wise." Yeah? The ant has no commander, no overseer, no ruler. Yet, when you observe him, he gathers and stores its provisions in summer in preparation for winter. So we're going to take some of that lesson from the ant this morning. Yeah? And we're going to take a look at how we're going to try and balance and manage in these meager times. So we have our three main things of focus. We need to ensure that we are having a variety, balance, and moderation. We have gotten so used to not having or not adding to our desires. Yes, we always ensure that we want what we want and we want it now. But moderation is key. That is temperance that's spoken of in the Bible. Balance from the correct amount from each food group, and a variety from all the food groups that are present. And once we have this, over time, we will maintain a healthy diet. The food-based dietary guidelines for Jamaica shows a picture of a plate. And on this plate, you will see all the food groups, right? You have the staples, You have the staples, which is the largest part of that chart. And we know those are the carbohydrate-rich foods, right? So we're going to move from this plate into the first to look at the staples group. What is contained in the staples and starchy food group? These are the carbohydrate-rich foods. These are the foods that help to give us energy to go. This is what the cells say to us. Staples or cassava, this is the land of wood and water, we're so blessed. Cassava, breadfruit, dasheen or Irish potato, sweet potato, flour, all of these are carbohydrate-rich foods, right? This is part of the canvas we're going to paint the flavors on, yeah? Then we have our group vegetables. These contain our pumpkin, carrots, beetroot, tomatoes, cauliflower, broccoli. You see the variation in colors there? That will give us some vitamin, water, minerals. Yes, some amount of sugar as well, right? Then we have fruit groups. And I'm sure you're noticing that all these in their fresh original state, unprocessed, will give you what your body needs to function. Tahiti apples or star apples, they are now in season and ripening. We have mangoes, we have lychee, we have pineapple, bright banana, jackfruit. The list goes on in this blessed island of ours from which to choose our fruits. And they give us vitamins, minerals, water, fiber. Then we have our fats and oils, which is something Jamaicans can't, the moderation part of things fail us. If we have an ackee tree or an avocado pear tree, when it's season, morning, noon, and night, you're in the tree going, but we have to listen and understand moderation. Yes, it's good, but in Jamaican parlance, what is it, right? Too much of one thing, good for nothing. Not true, right? So ackee, coconut, avocado. And the final group is our food from animals, which contains our eggs, our milk, cheese, fish, right? So we're going to look at how we mix and match so that we get optimal nutrition from these foods, even if we don't have a heavy budget to work with, right? So the multi-mix principle is where we are going to go. And this was designed in earlier times, 80s, late 70s, when we had issues with malnutrition on the other end, undernutrition, right? So they developed this chart, this principle program to help guide persons in eating properly and healthy. And so we're going to use this now to help us to maintain nutrient density, nutrient-rich foods, and a healthy balance in these meager times. So first group we're looking at is the good mix, the two mix, where we have staples, remember cassava and so on, and we have legumes. Those two together, two mix. This is good. Or it can be staples and food from animals, which is also good. So examples of that would be, just like the picture under there, a bowl of porridge. Yes, we love a bowl of porridge. And in Ghana and Nigeria, they also do a sort of turning the meal mixture, yeah? So they will have fufu or banku that they make from cassava and plantain. They stir in the mix, and that would be their staple food that they have with legumes, which would be stew beans or stew peas. You're good. Your fiber is there, your carbohydrates are there, you're A-okay, right? But the Italians do a version that they call creamy polenta, which is turned cornmeal, as it were, yes? But in our land of Jamaica that we love so much, right? There are some persons in some spaces that have placed the turned cornmeal underneath the table, and they have decided to give this rich meal to the dogs. But these are times when we are going to have to say to ourselves, I will have to adjust. I must, okay, let me turn some cornmeal today for dinner or for breakfast and see how it takes me forward. Yes? But with the other presenters, they will tell you how to flavor it so that it tastes different each time. Then you have roti and dal, which is your flour-made dough from the Indian part of our heritage. This is made with curry split peas sometimes. Very tasty, very nice. All Jamaicans should be exposed to that. And then we have or ital stew peas and dashi. Yes, from one of our ethnic groups here in Jamaica. They do their ital stew peas with their dashi or their cassava or their roast breadfruit. We have all these variations here. So we try and make use of that. Then we have our better mix, 3 mix, staples, legumes, and food from animal. That's one way of mixing. Or you can have staples, legumes, and dark green veggies. That's one way of mixing it. Or staples and food from animals, and your dark green leafies. That would be a nice mix. So examples of what this looks like: steamed callaloo with your broad beans and green bananas, right? I'm sure we all started our gardens outside since March 2020. So there's a banana tree, you can cut a hand. Your callaloo tree, because they can grow very tall. You cut some off the callaloo tree and you have beans everywhere, and you just get some beans. Breakfast finished, no money spent. Because the initial planting, you are now reaping, right? Just like the ants. Or you can have stewed peas with vegetables with your cassava or your fufu. I'm so in love with fufu now. I'm making fufu every week, right? Then we have the best, the best for last, the best mix. This is your 4 mix. And you mix your staples, legumes, vegetables, and food from animal. And examples of this best mix would be like the jollof rice from our African side of our heritage, right? So the Ghanaian or the Nigerian, they have a battle as to whose jollof rice is best. We can decide if we try it. Yes? We have biryani, that's from the Indian side of our heritage. Seasoned rice that we cook. Some people every Thursday they cook seasoned rice for the dinner. Or we have red pea soup. Nice picture of red pea soup, right? In some cultures, they actually add some peanut butter to the red pea soup to enrich it, to bump up the nutrient content of it. So you see how we can mix and match foods, and we don't necessarily have to go forth to spend overs, right? How can we attempt to achieve this balance now, right? How are we going to get there? First, as I said prior to this section, we need to sit with our family, sit with our children, explain to them what's happening in the world and how it's affecting us. From there, you're now going to plan your meals for each day. From those meals that have been planned, you're going to make a shopping list. So you plan, you make breakfast, you say, okay, I have cornmeal and so on, you make your list going down. After you've made this list, you're going to go now to your family and friends, church members, your neighbors, and you're going to say, okay, I think a good idea to help us through this, because we're all experiencing these difficulties now. I think a good idea for us is to bulk shop. Let us put our list together, see what we can purchase in bulk, and then we divvy it up at the end, right? Reading our labels, very important. Shop for ground and fresh produce on special farmers market days. Now, each parish has a special day when the farmers, the men who plant and grow, the women who plant and grow, come down to market to sell very early, 5 o'clock in the mornings. Some parishes, it's Wednesday morning, some it's Saturday morning, some it's Friday morning. You're going to go there. And at that time, you're able to choose the best produce price. You can also help yourself to managing these meager times by finding a little place in your yard. If you have yard space, good. If you don't, you have flower pots that you can put them in, right? So you plant a little edible garden. Your scallion and your thyme, the callaloo, once you plant 4 or 5 of them, they can grow into very big trees, and you just keep cutting as you need and allow it to grow and continue to regenerate itself, right? So you'll always have callaloo. You plant a little banana, breadfruit, and so on around the place. So start a little garden. When you have all these things, you need to store properly. Storage is important, or you're going to lose all that work you would have put in. So you're storing your dried peas and beans, your flowers, your rice, and so on, in a cool, dark place so that it doesn't attract any moisture and spoil quickly. If you have access to a deep freezer or a large freezer section, we're so blessed here. There are some persons who have excess ackee on the tree. You share, but they still have more. You can actually freeze that ackee, portion it into little smaller portions, freeze that ackee when you're ready to take out that parcel. You cook that, take out another parcel, or you can even cook it before and freeze it, right? And you'll have that for an extended period of time. Or it could be yam. If you have excess yam, you peel it, store it in the freezer. Excess fruits like your mangoes, same. Remembering always that variety, moderation, key. Keeping in mind that all these food groups that we're going to mix together, they are key. So we have to ensure we start to do our own little backyard garden. The thing is to start, you know, it may be late, but you still start. The ants know it, rain is coming. Even before the rain is coming, we don't say a cloud, but they know, and they begin shopping, as it were, to store. So you're going to look around when you're shopping for store brands against name brands, because sometimes the name brands, they tend to increase price. And we see that on the world market. We see it happening in Britain. We see it happening in France and America. But we are so blessed here that we can actually go outside, see something and use that to cook. Or we have a neighbor, or a friend, or family. So we're shopping for value for money when we read our labels. Mixing and match using our principles, vital part of it as well. And spicing it up, or other presenters will help us to spice these various foods that, you know, this canvas for us to enjoy. And shop wisely. First in, first out, and to store, right? We have to ensure that at all times we do that. These are my references, good book. And if you need further information, we have our specialists here on campus or at any health center or hospital, should you need further guidance. And thank you so much for being here with us this morning.
Thank you so much, Ms. Jones, for such an informative presentation. We're off to a great start today. So our next speaker, our second speaker, who is Dr. Tabitha Muchee, is Kenyan, who currently works as an associate professor of nutrition and dietetics at Northern Caribbean University. She holds a bachelor's, master's, and a PhD in nutrition, as well as education. She is an author of the book. She is the author of the book, African Health Recipes, and has widely published in international journals. She has previously worked in Kenya, Ghana, and the Philippines as a lecturer in areas of nutrition and dietetics, public health, nursing, and education. She has been a peer reviewer in journals, curriculum developer, administrator, and advisor. Her values in life is honesty, commitment, dedication, hard work, integrity, perseverance, and diligence. Dr. Muchee will be presenting on the topic, as I had mentioned before, healthy and savory plant-based diet. Please join me as we welcome Dr. Tabitha Muchee.
Good morning, everyone. I am so happy to be given such a chance to present this very dear topic to my heart, healthy and savory plant-based diet. What are your daily choices? Daily choices impact health, which extend beyond physical health and overall wellness. And when I talk about overall wellness, I mean physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and social health. Every day you are making a choice either towards wellness or death. In the middle, sometimes you find yourself at a moderate pace, but sometimes you feel some symptoms, but if you ignore those symptoms, you will become sick, you will depend on medication, and finally, all your emotional, physical, mental, social will break down and you eventually die. But when you notice those symptoms and you do something to improve your life and you start taking care of your physical health, your mental health, your emotional health, your social health, eventually you will live a healthy person and all will be well. There are times we make poor nutrition choices and that can lead to diseases. Actually, according to the World Health Organization, they say that non-communicable diseases, which are also known as chronic diseases, are the leading causes of death globally. Likewise, report given by the Ministry of Health and Wellness in Jamaica estimated 7 out of 10 Jamaicans died from these 4 major NCDs: cancer, cardiovascular diseases, diabetes, and chronic lower respiratory disease. What is health eating? Health eating may be achieved by what I am about to talk about, plant-based diet, which is defined as regimen that encourages whole plant-based foods and discourages animal products. I'll be briefly defining the 4 types of vegetarianism, and by the time I define, I will expect each one of us to make a choice of which is more appropriate. Vegans. Vegan is a person who eats only plant foods. There's nothing to do with meat, fish, dairy, nothing to do with animal. That is vegan. We also have vegetarians who belongs to fruitarian. These people eat fruits, nuts, honey, vegetable oils. These people are likely to be deficient with some nutrients. We also have the 3rd category, which is lacto-vegetarian. This is a person who consumes plant products and dairy products, but they exclude meat, fish, poultry, and eggs. Now, the 3rd category, lacto-ovo-vegetarian, they modify the diet even further and eat dairy products, eggs, as well as now plant-based. So these people, when they include these, they are more likely to get these nutrients that lacto-vegetarian lacked, such as vitamin B12 and calcium. So which one would you choose today? There are many benefits of plant-based diet. People who practice this diet, they live holistic lifestyle. They are health. They have good gut. They have mental wellness. They can prevent diseases and even prevent death. So what do I mean by health grow? You know, the skin appears hydrated. Vegetables pours more water into your system and all you are packed with antioxidants. That way you are able to fight the diseases. And the healthier you are from inside, it will show from outside. We are also talking about healthy gut, which assist you or promote proper digestion. Mental health will also be improved. The Indian website note that vegetarians have a better chances of being happier than non-vegetarians. Did you know that? Perhaps because of consuming these fresh organic foods, which is not only good for your body, but it also cleanses your mind. Plant-based diets can prevent diseases, as we've said. Nuts are good sources of nutrients. They are implicated in the health heart that includes vitamin E, folate, magnesium, and copper. So frequent consumption of nuts is associated with decreased risk of cardiovascular diseases. Whole intact plant foods are low in saturated fat, low in caloric density, high in fiber, low in glycemic response, high in phytonutrients that reduce risk of chronic diseases. Plant-based is also rich in antioxidants and phytochemicals. These plant foods contain thousands of phytonutrients that protect your body from oxidative stress that harm, and also it has these free radicals. And yet these free radicals can damage cells, causing illness and aging. So without enough of these phytonutrients, your body ages faster, it breaks down, and you are at risk of chronic diseases. So these antioxidants, they can neutralize those free radicals, and they can even damage them. And we can get these phytonutrients from various sources, carotenoid, such as carrots, sweet potatoes, rhizobium, tomatoes, watermelon, all these sources, flavonoids, grapes, cabbages, strawberries, soya milk, tofu, all these are various sources of phytonutrients. Many people today are at risk of diabetes, and practicing plant-based diets can reduce your blood sugars. It can promote weight loss and lower AIC levels. Research suggests that predominantly plant-based diet can reduce risk of type 2 diabetes. The Harvard-based Women Health Study found a correlation between eating red meat and diabetes risk. Actually, vegetarians' risk of developing diabetes was found to be half of those of non-vegetarians. Apart from diabetes, it also lowers heart disease. The plant-based diet. A combined analysis of data from 5 prospective studies involving more than 76,000 participants, as reported by Harvard Medical School, vegetarians were on average 25% less likely to die of heart disease. For heart protection, it's best to choose high fiber, whole grain legumes, which are digested slowly and have a low glycemic index. That is, they help keep blood sugars level steady. Avoid these refined carbohydrates and starches, such as potatoes, white rice, white flour products, because they will cause rapid rise of blood sugars. Nuts are also heart protective. So apart from those ones, the cancer that is affecting so many thousands of people today can be reduced by practicing plant-based diet. Hundreds of studies suggest that eating lots of fruits and vegetables can reduce especially colon cancer. So vegetarians usually have lower levels of potentially carcinogenic substances in their colons. Who wants to die? Did you know practicing plant-based diet can also reduce your chances of dying? Vegetarians often live longer, as shown in religious groups that practice vegetarianism, such as Loma Linda. Loma Linda actually is called a blue zone designated by National Geographic as one of the longest living communities in the world. The average life expectancy in Loma Linda is 10 times more likely to make it to 100 years. Not only do they live at an average of 10 years, but they also are free from these diseases, cancer, and also other disabilities. Study at Harvard found that a third of early deaths could be prevented if people moved towards plant-based diet. But many people will ask, are there risks of practicing plant-based diet, vegetarian? Well, vegetarian and vegan diet can be healthy, but it can also lack certain nutrients. You have to be very creative to ensure that some of these nutrients, such as protein, calcium, iron, and vitamin B12 are supplied. And because vitamin B12 is found only in animal sources, if you are a vegan, you should eat foods fortified with vitamin B12 or take a vitamin B12 supplement. Otherwise, you are more likely to be deficient from some nutrients, and even you can be anemic. Omega-3 fatty acids also that is found in fish can be found in flax seeds, but your body doesn't absorb the plant-based from readily as the omega-3 from seafood. So again, you might be advised to take vitamin omega-3 supplements. So how will your vegan plate look like? Actually, you looking at that plate, half of that plate should be packed with fruits, vegetables, and the other half whole grains and legumes and nuts and water. Vegetables should be consumed according to dietary guidelines of Americans, 2 to 3 cups per day, and with different colors, different types. And also when it comes to dark green vegetables, which are packed with antioxidants, beta carotene, vitamin C, calcium, iron, B vitamins, fiber, should also be consumed at a regular basis. And you can have different ways of preparing this. You can mix them in your soups, your salad. You can steam them, eat them raw, different ways of eating these vegetables. When it comes to fruits, it is also recommended that you eat 2 to 3 cups per day. Also eat variety, whole, when they are whole, and also different types. I'm sure here in Jamaica, if there is a place I've enjoyed eating fruits, it is in Jamaica, especially those native fruits. Make use of those fruits. They are so tasty, they are so good. When it comes to whole grains, they have high antioxidant, fiber, minerals, B vitamins. So, and you can consume them from various sources, brown rice, whole wheat flour. All these should again be consumed on daily basis. Beans and lentils are also high in antioxidant, and they are the major sources of protein, fiber, high in iron, zinc, and they are associated in lowering of cancer, diabetes, obesity, and heart disease. Add these beans and lentils in your soups, in your salad, and also eat them as whole grain dishes. Nuts and seeds, they can be, they are naturally occurring plant. They are health. They have omega-3 fatty acids, especially from flax, chia, walnut. They are high in fiber, protein, magnesium, and because of their high calories and fat, it is recommended that you consume 2 to 3 tablespoons daily. We are talking about flavoring the world with flavors. So even when you are a plant-based person, there are so many natural herbs and spices, and these are very good when it comes to antioxidant rich. And also you can, like for example, you have cinnamon, cloves, bay leaves, turmeric, and especially these blood sugars, lipids, triglyceride, LDL, and also total cholesterol. So as little as a quarter teaspoon of cinnamon per day can give you all the benefits. And you can grow these herbs and spices in your kitchen garden. Nowadays, there are so many ways. You don't have to have a big space to consume these herbs. And so what am I saying? In conclusion, I want to leave you with the themes borrowed from food-based dietary guidelines for Jamaicans. It is advisable that you should eat variety of foods from all the food groups on daily basis. Eat a variety of fruits daily. Eat a variety of vegetables daily. Includes peas, beans, and nuts in your daily meals. But apart from eating all these things daily, the guidelines suggest that we should reduce intake of salty and processed foods, reduce intake of fat and oils, reduce intakes of sugars, sugared drinks and foods. And apart from foods, make exercise, physical exercise as part of your daily life. And I'll also include stay a stress-free life. So eat well, exercise, reduce stress, be godly. All those things will make you practice a health lifestyle. So eat as if your life depended on it, and because you are what you eat. May God bless you, and with God, all things are possible, and we can for sure live healthier. May God bless you. I'll now take this opportunity to introduce my colleague, my friend, Miss Simone Morgan. It is with pleasure that I introduce Simone Morgan, who is an instructor in the Department of Nutrition and Dietetics at NCU. Ms. Morgan is a registered dietitian who also holds a Bachelor of Science degree in nursing. She has co-authored in 2 journals, one in the Journal of Physical Chemistry and the second in the International Journal of Recent Innovation in Food Science and Nutrition. She is also a member of Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. Today, Ms. Morgan will be presenting on herbs and spices. Have it your way. Welcome, Ms. Simone Morgan.
Thank you so much, Dr. Muchee, for that wonderful introduction. I definitely feel welcome. All right, so as Dr. Muchee said, I will be presenting today on herbs and spices. Have it your way. So during this presentation, we'll be looking at some of the differences between herbs and spices, how they're used, and the foods that you can combine them with. I will also be introducing you to herbs and spices you may not be familiar with the hope that you will explore and include them when preparing your meals. All right, so let's go ahead and begin the presentation. Okay, so when you think about herbs and spices, what do you think about? All right, just go ahead and type it in the chat, some of the things that come to your mind, some of the adjectives that come to your mind when you think about herbs and spices. Then I also want you to type what do you think the differences between herbs and spices are? All right, so go ahead and so while you're typing or while you're thinking about what you're going to type, we use herbs and spices to add flavor and aroma to our food, right? They help to stimulate our appetite even when we're not actually hungry. I mean, you can remember sometimes when you're cooking or preparing something, a meal, you can stay, it's being prepared in the kitchen, but you can stay all the way from down the road and smell the aroma that's traveling from your house all the way down the road. Or even when you smell some of these aroma when you're passing someone else's house, it may stimulate your memory of some past pleasant experience that you have. All right, so these herbs and spices, they help to stimulate our appetite and hopefully pleasant memories. They may add some zest, a little kick and spice or excitement to what would have been a bland, boring meal if they weren't present, if they weren't included in the meal. All right, so let's move on. And let's look at the differences between a herb and a spice, okay? So let's focus on herbs first. So a herb is the leafy part of a plant, right? While spices are any other parts of the plant, like the bark, stem, buds, flower, root, seeds, right? So this is one of the differences. Another difference is the way they are used. Herbs are typically used dried or fresh, but spices are usually dried, can be served or presented dried or ground. You may be familiar with some herbs and spices, right? In Jamaica, we tend to limit the variety of herbs and spices. So hopefully by the end of the presentation, I will change that. All right, we're used to adding certain types of herbs and spices to our food. All right, so what I want you to do now is to go ahead again and type in the chat. I'm giving you a lot of things for you to do in the chat, but that's okay. What do you think some of those common herbs and spices are that we frequently use in Jamaica? And if you were tuned in yesterday, day one of our Nutrition Week, then you would have heard from our presenters what are those 5 common herbs and spices that we typically use. All right, so you can just go ahead and type that in the chat. So let's take a look. Let's focus on some examples of herbs that we have. All right. So some of these herbs that you're looking at here on this slide, some you may be familiar with, and some you're seeing them for the first time. All right, so these are herbs, and as I said before, herbs are the leafy part of the plants. Okay, so some of these herbs include dill, sage, tarragon, parsley, rosemary, bay leaves, marjoram, and I even include some in the center here: thyme, cinnamon, mustard, cilantro, oregano, lemongrass. All right, so if you look at these examples I just gave you, are there any herbs that you see here that you're seeing for the first time? Or is there a herb that you're seeing here that you've never tried before? All right, so while you're typing that in the chat, all right, let's move on to some examples of spices. All right, so I just described to you or gave you some examples of some herbs. All right, some you may be aware of, some may be new to you. And as I mentioned before also, our spices are the other parts of the plants that can be used, like the bark, as in cinnamon, stem, can also be used, buds, flower, roots, seeds. All right, so when these other parts of the plant are used, they're considered spices. All right, so let's look at some of these examples of the spices that you're seeing here. Okay, so we have cinnamon and vanilla, which most Jamaicans or many Jamaicans may be familiar with, fennel seeds, turmeric, anise, all right, pimento, red pepper, sweet pepper, black pepper, paprika, cloves, coriander, nutmeg. These are some examples of spices. All right, so when you think of, even when I mentioned before, some of the herbs that I gave you an example of, and some of them you may not be familiar with, as I had said. So like the marjoram herb, it kind of tastes similar to thyme, right? But it has a sweeter type of taste than thyme. Dill, the dill herb has a citrus-like flavor, but there is a slight bitter aftertaste with dill. And also another thing about dill is that it can be used instead of parsley. So if you've used parsley, you can actually try dill as a substitute to see if it's something that you like, or if it gives your food a flavorful taste that you enjoy. Cilantro, all right, is also another herb that you may not be familiar with. And cilantro is also similar to parsley, but it has a stronger, more spicier taste. Some of those spices that you may not be familiar with, that I just gave you an example of, include the coriander seeds, which is the dried fruit of the coriander plant. All right, as well as paprika. Some people might be more familiar with paprika, but if you're not, the paprika kind of varies in flavor from mild to spicy, depend on the type of pepper that was ground to make the paprika. So usually when you see the paprika in the supermarket, right, the ground paprika in the supermarket, it's usually the regular paprika that's mild, all right? But if it's different, because you even have some paprika that has a smoky taste to it, all right? So for those paprika, then it was heated or dried in a smoky environment, which consequently gave it that smoky flavor. And you will notice those type of paprika if you see smoky paprika listed on the food label. And as I said, you have the spicy variation also. Cardamom is another spice that you may not be familiar with. And cardamom, it kind of has a citrusy taste, and it's similar in taste to, well, it has a hint of sweetness to it. So it has a citrusy taste, and it has a hint of sweetness, and it's comparable to or similar to cumin in taste. Okay, so let's look at how we can pair some of these herbs and spices. Like, what can we combine them with? All right, so let's look at different types of food, and let's see how we can compare different types of herbs and spices with each of these food. All right, so the first option that I have here is if you're preparing beef, all right, you can use bay leaf, cayenne, chili, all right, curry we're familiar with, dill I just described. You can use marjoram, goes well with this as well as oregano, all right? Rosemary also is another herb that goes well with beef. If you're preparing some type of poultry, some herbs and spices that goes well with these include bay leaf, cayenne, dill, marjoram as well. Marjoram tends to go well with either beef or poultry, or even fish. You can even try it with a fish if you're having a meal that has fish. Sage goes well with poultry, as well as tarragon and basil. So these are some of the herbs and spices that go well with poultry. In terms of a meal that contains fish, you can also use dill in this to season your fish. Nutmeg, we don't usually use nutmeg when we're preparing fish, but you can try nutmeg to see if you like how that combines, if that combines well with the fish for you. Mustard seed, all right. Some of us might have tried lemon peel or lemon or lime with fish, so we might be familiar with that flavor that goes with it. Fruits, you can also use herbs and spices to flavor fruits as well, all right? So you can use herbs and spices like anise, cinnamon, cloves, curry, mint, nutmeg, mace, and pepper to flavor your fruit. All right, so let's look at a few other foods that we can use our herbs and spices with. All right, if you're using rice, I know we love our rice and peas or plain rice, all right, and that's fine, but you can use varying types of herbs and spices to kind of change up the flavor and the taste of the rice that you're having, and kind of add some variety. We've been using that word a lot during this presentation, but you can use that to add some variety to your rice meal. So some herbs and spices that you can use include chives, curry. You can actually use curry to make yellow rice, okay? So instead of buying the packaged processed yellow rice at the store, you can make your own yellow rice using curry. Nutmeg, parsley, saffron, and turmeric are some options that you can use when you're preparing rice. Now, for your vegetable meals, there's a wide variety of options that you can choose from in terms of herbs and spices. So for your green beans, you can use dill, marjoram, oregano, nutmeg. All right, so I'm just picking some key vegetables here. For when you're, okay, cucumber that by itself may have a sort of a bland taste, but you can kind of give it a little bit of personality by including basil, dill, parsley, cucumber. Your potatoes also, right? You can include chives, cumin, dill, fennel, garlic, which we're used to, and rosemary when you're preparing your potatoes. All right, so we're going to look at the final option that we have as to what you can pair these herbs and spices with, and you can use your teas, herbs and spices in a variety of ways with your teas. All right, so we're familiar with things like peppermint and citrus, but you can try chamomile as well. You can try chamomile. You can try cinnamon, making your own cinnamon tea. You can try thyme, rosemary as well makes very good tea. So I'm going to be sharing with you 2 short videos on how you can further combine these herbs and spices with varying types of foods.
Less, and you're going to get a lot more flavor. All right, on to some fun stuff. Paprika is dried ground chili. It's got this gorgeous red color. And the flavor can be sweet or spicy, and it can be smoked or unsmoked. And it gives your dishes an earthy, rich quality as well as providing color. So use it to season eggs, potatoes, and spreads like hummus, for example. And you can also dust a bit on top of finished dishes for a pretty red garnish. Paprika is best known in Hungarian and Spanish cuisines. Our next spice is another member of the chili family, crushed red pepper. And it is perfect for adding a layer of heat to soups or stews or Mexican dishes. Use a little or a lot, of course, depending on your taste. And it's also another great spice to use as a garnish. Just sprinkle a little on top, and it adds a dash of beautiful red color. Cinnamon is next on our list. You can buy it in sticks or in powder like this. And of course, we're all familiar with cinnamon and baking. But it can be used for so much more. Try putting a pinch in your coffee or hot chocolate for a bit of a Mexican twist, or add a dash to stewed meats or veggie dishes to give them a slightly Middle Eastern or North African flair. Moving on to one of my favorite spices, coriander. Coriander is actually the seed of the plant that we know in the U.S. as cilantro. Coriander has a bright, almost citrusy flavor that reminds me a little bit of bergamot, which is the flavor that's added to Earl Grey tea. And it's really common in Asian and Middle Eastern cuisines. Now, I like to add a bit to homemade hamburgers, and it's going to be great with carrots or really with any kind of vegetable. So just like with pepper, it's best to buy your coriander whole and grind it as you need it. That's really the only way to get the best flavor out of your spice. Now, I like to use a pestle and mortar, but you of course use a coffee grinder to do this. But I like the pestle and mortar because I feel more connected to my food. It's a whole sensory experience. It's just really fun to use. Now I've got a pretty serious set here. And you don't have to have one that's big. But what you do want to look for is a mortar with a little bit of a rough surface and a pestle that has some weight to it. And that's going to assist you with the grinding process. So to use your pestle and mortar, put just a little bit of spice in the bottom. If you get too much, it's going to be hard to manage and the spices are going to go flying everywhere. All right, so place your hand partially over the mortar to help keep any flying spices at bay, then pound straight down with the pestle. Once it's started to break down, then begin to grind the spices by twisting and moving the pestle across the surface of the mortar until you get the consistency that you're looking for. So there you have it, fresh ground coriander. All right, our final spice, another favorite of mine, cardamom. These are whole cardamom pods, and inside of the pods are the seeds. And this is how I like to buy my cardamom. You don't have to deal with taking the seeds out of the pods, but it retains its flavor much longer than if you buy it ground. Of course, you can buy cardamom ground, but just like coriander and pepper, I recommend grinding it when you need it. Cardamom has an almost haunting flavor. It's a bit minty or eucalyptusy. It's got a natural sweetness, and it's somewhat reminiscent of cinnamon, actually. It's often used in Indian cuisines and is really common in chai tea. So try using it anywhere that you would use cinnamon for a bit of an exotic twist. If you buy the pods, you just need to give them a quick whack to crack them open, then just peel the pod back, and you'll reveal all of those beautiful seeds. Then grind the seeds just like we did the coriander. You can use a coffee grinder, of course, or do it by hand with a pestle and mortar.
you. Thank you.
I so wish you could smell this.
Okay, so the point I wanted to get across is that to expose you to different types of herbs and spices that you're not familiar with. All right, so that you can definitely, the next time when you go to the supermarket, you can definitely plan to shop and to try spices that you have never tried before. So thank you for listening to my presentation, and happy shopping for herbs and spices.
Good morning.
Over to you, Mrs. Richards, for the next presenter.
Okay. Good morning. My name is Vinola Richards. I'm the chair for the Nutrition and Dietetics Department. I'm also the director for the internship program. Today, I am introducing Tieace Dawes-Morgan. It is with distinct pleasure that I introduce Ms. Tieace Dawes-Morgan. Ms. Morgan is a registered dietitian who recently graduated from the Department of Nutrition and Dietetics and Food Science program at Northern Caribbean University. Ms. Dawes-Morgan is also a medical missionary and a master guide. Today, Ms. Dawes-Morgan will be presenting on Secrets of the Yellow Plant Power. Please welcome Ms. Dawes-Morgan. Thank you.
Good morning, and good morning. First, I would like to say thank you, Mr. Charles, for that introduction, and to the Nutrition and Dietetics Department for the invitation. So my presentation. My presentation is entitled Secrets of the Yellow Plant Power Turmeric.
I'm not hearing her.
for the YouTube platform question, please type in the chat and keep the chat active. Was your health prepared for the pandemic? It's either yes or no. The pandemic has caused many changes to the lives of people around the world. We are far within the state of adapting to this new normal. In addition, there are things we can use to maintain a healthy lifestyle. What and how we eat and drink can affect our body's ability to prevent, fight, and recover from infections. I quote from the Medical Missionary Manual, page 417. The Lord has made it a part of his plan that man's reaping shall be according to his sowing. End of quote. To my outline, I will be covering turmeric, the active ingredient in turmeric, its dosage, side effects. On to the next slide, recommendation, an educational aid video, how to get turmeric in your diet, and a bonus in which I'm very sure you will be happy for. On to the next slide. What is turmeric? So turmeric is actually native to the Asian and Indian culture. It is actually a yellow colored spice, and it has been used for thousands of years as both as a cooking ingredient and as a medicinal herb. On to my next slide. Turmeric is actually a part of the Zingiberate family, which includes ginger. It is available as a powder, in tea form, scrubs, essential oils, and also in capsules. It can be used internally and externally. On to the next slide. Turmeric is the main ingredient in turmeric. Scientists has isolated curcumin to be the main ingredient in turmeric. And curcumin actually gives turmeric its yellow color. Now, onto the dosage of turmeric. Now, there is no reference nutrient intake for turmeric tablets. However, we should never exceed the dosage stated on any label. Furthermore, there is an RNI reference nutrient intake for curcumin, and the World Health Organization advises up to 3 milligrams per kg of body weight of curcuminoids, which includes curcumin. Now, the average daily intake in an Indian diet is actually much higher than that of the recommendation of the World Health Organization. It is between 60 and 100 milligrams per kg of body weight. Now, there are side effects of when you consume turmeric if you consume them in large amounts and for long periods. These side effects may result headache, yellow stool, rash, and an upset stomach, which may lead to diarrhea. So my recommendation is for you is to talk with your healthcare provider before you start taking any natural supplements that may interact with medications during or that may interact with your medications or during pregnancy. No, and there are numerous benefits attached to turmeric, and these numerous benefits is a secret to many, and for others, it is power to the blood. Now, there is actually a technical difficulty. Apparently, the video is unable to be played. However, I will play the video and you could hear the sound. So apparently the video is unable to play. However, let me say what is included within the video. Now, turmeric is a plant in the ginger family, and its roots and its stems are grounded into a powder that is used in many Asian cooking. And did you know that the main ingredient in turmeric, in curry, is actually turmeric? Isn't that quite interesting? No, this information actually gets better. Why? Because turmeric contains a yellow-colored substance, which is called curcumin, and it is used in many cosmetics, pigmentation, or foods. In about 1,000 milligrams of turmeric, there is about 30 to 50 milligrams of curcumin. And there have been various scientific studies that shows there are several health benefits of turmeric when it is added to warm water. Now, here are these benefits. It keeps your heart healthy. Because of the curcumin that is within the turmeric, it is linked to lower your cholesterol level and prevent atherosclerosis, which is the hardening of the arteries. Now, scientists has also proven that a regular consumption of turmeric can greatly lower the risk of developing cancer. So turmeric actually reduces the risk of cancer. And one of the best ways to prevent tumors caused by radiation exposure is to consume turmeric regularly. Turmeric also protects brain cells. The turmeric reduces the chances of developing Alzheimer's disease. Now, the curcumin found in turmeric actually counteracts symptoms of Alzheimer's by blocking the formation of beta amyloid, the protein substance that triggers the progression of Alzheimer's disease. Furthermore, turmeric also reduces inflammation of neural tissues. And one of the one thing that teenagers and some adults also have a problem with is acne. Now, turmeric also improves skin health and complexion. Turmeric has many benefits for the skin. It also is a natural blood purifier. The Bible says that the life is within the blood. It removes toxins from the blood. Turmeric is also an antioxidant property which protects the skin from free radical damage and helps in brightening the overall skin and health and adds a healthy glow to it. It also reduces inflammation. It helps in weight loss. And it also helps to balance the sugar levels within the body. So turmeric has many health benefits. And if we're going to get these health benefits, then we have to make it our priority to consume turmeric on a regular basis. Now, how can we get turmeric in our diet? So ways in which we can get turmeric in our diet is to consume turmeric in the morning in our tea. So in having tea in the morning, we could add half teaspoon of turmeric to 8-ounce glass of warm water. Now, this is very effective when added to warm water. Why? Because the warm water actually opens the fiber within the plant and it releases the medicinal properties. The medicinal property from the plant. And another thing is to make it even speed up the chemical reaction, you could add a pinch of cayenne pepper. So the cayenne pepper will actually act as a catalyst, which will speed up the reaction. You could have turmeric in your smoothies. You could have it in your food. You could have turmeric garbanzo beans. You could have turmeric lentils. You could add turmeric to your soup. There are a wide variety of ways in which you could add turmeric to your food. But the most important thing is to be consistent, because if you only consume it once, you will not get all the benefits. You have to be consistent in consuming turmeric, and then you will reap the reward of the benefits. And I end my presentation with this quote from the Ministry of Healing, page 127. And it says, "The use of natural remedies require an amount of care and effort that many are not willing to give. Nature's process of healing and upbuilding is gradual, and to the impatient, it seems slow. The surrender of hurtful indulgences require sacrifice. But in the end, it will be found that native untrammeled does her work wisely and well. Those who preserve in obedience to her laws will reap the reward in health of body and health of mind." Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Morgan, for such a wonderful, informative presentation. We've been having some wonderful presentations, some very informative presentations, some very insightful presentations with new information that we may not have known about before. So I'm really happy about that. I would like to thank all the presenters for a wonderful presentation. So we're going to use a few minutes for questions and answers. So this is the opportunity for you, the participants, to ask the presenters questions, any burning questions that you have on your mind. What would you like to know from us? So go ahead and type in the chat the questions that you have. All right. And in the meanwhile, while you are thinking about the questions that you want to ask, I'm just gonna go ahead just to give you some time to think about and type it in the chat. I would just like to read some of the comments that I've been seeing on YouTube. All right, so let's see. So we have, I'm trying to locate, all right. Sonia Lewis she typed some herbs and spices. I guess these are the herbs and spices that she uses a lot of. So she uses a lot of the scallion, thyme, rosemary, onions, pimento, cinnamon. Okay, she's saying that those are very popular. All right, so let me scroll down and see what else our participants have been saying. So Maxine Anderson is saying that she's using turmeric now. She never used it before the pandemic. Okay, so I guess you now recognize the importance of turmeric, and especially since our presenter, Mrs. Morgan, has just gave us such a wonderful, informative presentation on that. All right, I'm still not seeing any questions. I'm waiting for your questions. Any questions that you guys have for the presenters? Maxine again is saying very informative. Ketra is saying that she loves the presentations. Nicolon is saying that, I guess she's saying she sprinkled, was it turmeric on steam? So you use your turmeric on steamed cabbage? Okay. All right, so I think I'm seeing Beverly Strahan. Let me see if this is a question here. Hi, I heard that turmeric should not be used every day because it thins your blood.
Yes.
But I heard you say to get the benefits, use every day. Help me here. All right, so that's a question for Beverly. She's saying that she heard that if we use turmeric every day, it can cause your blood to become thin. All right, so how should she approach that in terms of the frequency of turmeric?
So thank you for that question, Miss Beverly. And yes, turmeric can actually thin. Turmeric is actually a blood thinner, so it is able to thin your blood. Now, in gaining the benefit of anything, you have to consume it on you have to be consistent in consuming it. You can consume it once and then you reap all the reward or all the benefits. So the recommendation that was given is to use the amount that is actually advised to use. And in using the right amount, then it won't be able to thin in your blood. So using the right amount is very important.
Okay, so if I could add to that one of the things that we've been emphasizing on during this presentation is variety and moderation, as in portion. All right, so yes, it's good that you have turmeric consistently, but we're not saying that you should have turmeric every day, right? Because another thing that we've been saying is that we want to have variety or include variety in your diet. All right, and even that says too much of one thing is good for, and you can fill that fill in the blank there. All right, so yes, you have to be careful. And I'm glad Beverly, I believe, asked that question. You have to be careful with things like ginger or turmeric or even garlic when you're when you're on certain medications. So, or if you're planning for a surgery, because these things can, yes, thin your blood. So you don't necessarily have to consume them every day, and you don't have to consume them in large amounts. All right. All right, so there is a who was that? Mikkel. Okay, so Mikkel is asking this question. All right, Mikkel, did I lose your question? Okay, here it is. What is the best way to consume herbs and spices, fresh or dried? Okay, so actually, when you have dried herbs, if you have dried herbs, when they're dried, they actually retain their nutrient abilities. All right, they maintain their flavor. However, the thing about it is when it's dried, you want to use it close to when you just start preparing the meal, so that that flavor can actually seep out into your meal. If it's fresh and it's cut or chopped, you want to introduce it into your meal close to the end of the meal preparation or when you're about to serve. Okay, so you can enjoy both ways, ground or fresh. Let me see if there are any other questions.
And Miss Morgan, and
Yes.
just to add, it's actually more concentrated when it is dried than when it is fresh.
There you go. All right, and anyone wants to add to that answer? Okay, so I'm sorry, I'm going through these. Okay, so there's a question. Okay, I believe this will be the last question. You address food that can prevent disease and maintain good health. Can we use different amounts to promote healing? All right, so Sequel Overture is asking that question. So you address food that can prevent disease and maintain good health. Can we use different amounts to promote healing? All right, are you, Sequel, I'm not sure if you're referring to any particular presenter or presentation or that you're referring to? All right, would anyone like to address that question?
Yeah, perhaps I could try, Ms. Morgan. Yes, food prevent diseases, that is for sure. And I think even in my presentation, when I was talking about plant-based diet, we said that plant-based diets prevent especially chronic diseases, cancer, diabetes, cardiovascular diseases, heart diseases. And yes, we have various food guides. We have Jamaica food guides, American food guides, and all these guides give food portions. They are the portions given for health people, and also in case someone is undergoing a certain disease, this like each disease is very individualized. There are some, for example, let's say you have a heart disease or hypertension. When it comes to that, you know, like saturated fat it should be reduced, and people should consume more of like omega-3 or unsaturated fats, and to certain amounts. So I can say when it comes to diseases or even diabetes, there are some carbs that are required to be eaten at certain amount to reduce blood sugars. So when it comes to diseases, it depends with each individualized disease. But when it comes to general health, there are these recommendations or food guides that recommend a portion to be eaten from each food group so that you can maintain good health. I don't know whether that has answered the question.
Yeah, yes, thank you very, very much, Dr. Muchee. And just to piggyback on what you just said with the dietary food guidelines for Jamaica, that it does, based on the illustration, it does let us know that in terms of our fruit and vegetable intake, that it should be about half of our plate should be fruits and vegetables. In Jamaica, we tend to reverse that. We put the staples where the portion amount of the staples where the vegetables should be. But the truth is, when you increase your intake of fruits and vegetables, all right, to at least, especially the vegetables, at least half of your plate, the evidence shows that it tends to decrease your risk of certain chronic illnesses. All right, so that wraps up our question and answer segment for today. Thank you for your questions. All right, I'll now turn over to our chair, Mrs. Richards.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to everyone in cyberspace. We are proud to have you join us in our initiating to change lives with the power of good, clean, healthy nutrition. Eating the same meals every day removes the stress and burden of meal planning, but it's not emotionally satisfying and might not provide adequate nutrients. You can add one new flavor to daily meals, rotating new flavors. Try one or two new recipes as you have listened to a world of flavor. As one presenter said, these are meager times. Ensure you use your nutrition dollar wisely to kickstart your day. It could be a curry ginger sauce flavored with scallion, thyme, and ginger over coconut rice, or curried chickpeas served over rice, or turned cornmeal polenta flavored with codfish, scallion, thyme, and Scotch bonnet pepper. But make sure you are balancing your plate. You know, using our food-based dietary guidelines, you're balancing your plate, you're eating in moderation, and you're using your herbs and spices. We also look at plant-based diets, isn't it? And plant-based diets are becoming more and more popular, provided they are nutritionally adequate. They're good to go. They protect our body from oxidative stress. And when we protect our bodies from oxidative stress, we're doing good to ourselves, because this is which drives diseases in our body, from our cancer to our diabetes to our hypertension. Right? Then we look at the differences between herbs and spices. And of course, you heard some different types of herbs and spices. Most that are popular in the Mediterranean, Europe, Far East, and to a lesser extent in Jamaica. Some of those spices we do not use here. We stick to what we know, right? Don't forget different spices are used for different foods. This, of course, will bring out the best flavor and aroma. We in Jamaica tend to stick to our spices. You need to explore these other spices and herbs and be versatile. Choose and choose wisely. Then we listen to the turmeric. Turmeric has been highlighted so much in this pandemic. It is supposed to boost our immunity, isn't it? Be consistent by adding your turmeric to your meals to boost your immunity. Whether you add it to your meals, like a sprinkle over your meals, or you make a tea, a hot beverage drink, or you add it to your smoothie. Pay attention to the dosage. And one of the questions that I listened to in the chat was that, what about using it as what about it on blood thinner? Well, if you are on a certain type of drug for a blood thinner, you would know that, you can't use turmeric, or if you use it, it would be sparsely that you would use it, because it works as a blood thinner also. So you actually would need to get in touch with your doctor and ensure that you can use it and how much you can use. Pay attention to the doses. That's what you will need to do. Okay, I hope that these presentations were fulfilling and informative to you. The goal, of course, is to change lifestyle by making food as your medicine. Simple, effective, and enjoyable. Put it in practice and you will be fine. Thank you for listening.
As we strive